Good morning, everyone. My name is Dozier, and on behalf of Vetiva Capital and our media partners at Frontier Africa Report, I would like to welcome you all to the Thursday edition of our breakfast meeting. It is Thursday, the 8th of April, 2021. Please note that this meeting is set to last for 30 minutes and is being recorded. The audio file may be shared with third parties. After all speakers are done, we will give attendees an opportunity to ask questions if they have any. On our agenda today, we will get a rundown of the fixed income and equity spaces from our traders for those respective markets, after which we'll round off with our media partner, Frontier Africa Reports, with their own updates. We will now start off with Seun, who will take us through the equity space. Good morning, Seun.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Jose, and good morning, everyone. As usual, we'll start off with the roundup of performances of some market across West Africa. Yeah, and we'll begin with the BRVM, where the index returned to a positive day-on-day close of 62 basis points. Though activity level declined in the session, but we had a positive market breadth with Sikabo, Cote d'Ivoire, and NSIA Bank leading the gainers board. Yesterday's gains moderated year-to-date loss to just negative 2.61%. We expect to see the index exhibit mixed sentiment in the medium term, with few days of gains followed by profit taking, just like what we've seen in couple of weeks. For Ghana, the composite index closed significantly higher in that session with a 209 bips gain led by Cowbank and MTN Ghana, following decent level of trades in MTN. Ecobank Ghana was the only loser in the session. The year-to-date return of the market improved to 16.26 on the back of that significant gain we saw yesterday, and we expect to see these positive flows sustained in the coming session. So moving quickly to Nigeria, the NSC All Share Index yesterday closed up marginally by 2 bips, which is on the back of the upward movement we saw in the share price of MTN, Flour Mills, as well as Nestle. MTN in the session was up 112 bips. Flour Mills and Nestle, like I mentioned, which also contributed to positive flows, were lifted to higher level towards close of market. The losses in the banks continued in yesterday's session. We saw another 312 bips negative flows. Almost all the banks closed lower, from GTB to Zenith, Axis Bank, FBN, UBA, FCMB, all closed lower as negative sentiment and sell-off persisted in that sector. Looking at the market and speaking to other industry players, we gather that it's been a mix of both the foreign and the locals that have been local investors that have been that are involved in the sell-off, and they are largely more of the locals actually are involved in this. With just consumer goods posting positive return, and this was supported by gains in Nestle and Flour Mills, like I mentioned. All subsectors closed down, led by the banking sector, the subsector. So, the as we saw, based on what we saw in the banks, turnover day-on-day increase was about 9%. Market bread also remained negative, 12 advances and 29 decliners. So looking at what we're expecting today, we believe the sell-offs will likely persist as sentiment remains weak. Wherever note that some of the names recovered slightly, especially some in the banks like GT, and though they were pretty much low in the red yesterday, but towards market close, some of them regained their lost level. So we'll not be surprised to see cherry picking in those banking names. For us, we still like UBA, GT, and Zenny. Flour Mill is also another name that we like in the consumer goods sector. That would be it for the equities.
Thank you very much. We will now move to Omorige, who will cover fixed income and currencies. Good morning, Omorige.
Good morning, Dozie. Good morning, everybody. So I'll start with the money market. The system remains very illiquid. Yesterday, opening figures was around 96.78 billion long. And this was a slight improvement from what we saw on Tuesday, 89 billion positive. So in the absence of any major funding yesterday, money market rate maintained to trade between 12% to 15%. So our expectation for today is that the money market will trade at higher levels as players will make provisions for a possible OMO auction debit. Moving on to the FS market, yesterday we recorded the lowest earning turnover that we have seen in like 5 months. This was like a significant decline from what we saw on Tuesday, about 71% decline, as our turnover yesterday closed at $11.85 million, coming from the $40.80 million recorded on Tuesday. As a result of the significant decline in the dollar supply to the market, we saw the Naira depreciate across the official window to close at a high of 438 Naira to a dollar, closing at 411 Naira to a dollar. Despite the significant decline in the dollar supply, the parallel market maintains to trade around 485 Naira to a dollar. Our expectation is that the Naira will continue to trade around these levels in the absence of any significant FS supply to the system. Moving on to the Treasury piece, it was another quiet session in the T-bills market yesterday. This quiet theme was supported by the extremely low system liquidity. We saw players decide to stay on the sidelines and see how high rates can actually go. The players who were in the market yesterday were trying to offload their positions. Shockingly, we saw the newly issued one-year paper offered at 8% in the market yesterday. We also saw offers on that paper at around 7.65% levels, but it was mainly a seller's market yesterday. There were really no bids in the market. So overall, few trades were consummated across the benchmark curve. So our expectation for today is that the T-bills market will trade on a very muted note as market attention shifts to a possible more auction. I'll conclude with the bonds market. Yesterday, we saw bearishness in the bonds market intensify as players pricing the release of the Q2 issuance calendar, where the DMO plans a monthly issuance of about 60 billion on each of the 3 tenors on offer. That brings the total amount on offer across the 3 tenors at each auction to about 180 billion. So during the trading session yesterday, we saw the 2045 maturity hit the high of 13% and above. So we also saw that long dated papers trading at around sub 12.6 levels. So the market was largely bearish yesterday. A lot of the long dated papers crossed the 13% margin. So like I said earlier, in the money market updates, the system is very illiquid. So some players are trying to create liquidity. So they are offering their positions at very, very attractive levels. So our expectation for today is that the bonds market will continue to trade on a very bearish note in the interim, and we'll continue to see some bargain buys at very high levels. That'll be all for fixed income.
Thank you, Temple. We will now conclude. Thank you, Morgan. We will now conclude with Temple from Frontier Africa Reports for their update.
Right, good morning. Thanks a great deal for this opportunity. In Kenya, we've seen that their 18-year infrastructure bond, which was issued recently at 60 billion shillings, was overbought by 47%. The country is also still looking to do more borrowings in spite of what they've been able to get from the multilateral IMF, that's the International Monetary Fund. They're looking to borrow some $12.4 billion in external borrowings by 2022, which is just next year. And of course, the Nairobi Stock Exchange also plans to sell its state shares in Safaricom, while the same Nairobi Stock Exchange now looks to buy 4% stake in Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange. This is a demutualized stock exchange in Tanzania. In the western part of Africa, going with the comments and releases from the IMF World Bank meeting in Washington, one of the comments that came out yesterday was that good governance is critical to COVID-19 mitigation and of course recovery, and that is as it relates to Nigeria. We also know that ShopRite South Africa has now commenced the process of exiting Nigeria. That's their subsidiary in Nigeria. I think the deadline they're looking at is around December, the end of this year. You've got the Bank of Agriculture in Niger paying some 5.58 billion CFA in gross dividends to shareholders on that company, because of course it's something that is a public structure company. And the southern part of Africa, you've got factory activity rising slightly to some 50.3 reading for the month of March versus 50.2. And of course, Anglo-American is now looking to sell some $440 million of rough diamonds in the third sales cycle that it is carrying out. One notable thing in the southern part of Africa lately is that in spite of the insurgency level that we are seeing in Mozambique, because of the oil investments that has been in that country in recent time, their currency has been very, very strong. And I think it's strengthened by more than 14% so far since February this year. And everyone is looking at that space for possible opportunities at this point in time. For Namibia, the revenue authority there is now back to operation. They are fully on operation now. But I think key for us in the northern part of Africa will be the Egyptian meat seller Atiab, which sells 75% of its shares to Emiratis Actia. So we continue to see entry and exit of investments in this particular country. Everyone knows why, and that is because of the liberalization of their currency that they have done, liberalization of the Egyptian pound. So that has been aiding ease of entry and ease of exits by foreign and local investors, even though quite a number of the investments, portfolio investments, and even FDIs in that country still have low level of local investors. And that is something that they're hoping that they will be able to address, especially on the side of the government. Finally is the BMCI, which set some 571 million dirhams as total dividend payout for the months or for the year 2020 financial year. And BMCI is actually based in Tunisia. These are headlines from Frontier Africa Reports for today. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Temple. We have now come to the question and answer portion of the meeting. If you would like to speak, you can raise your hand and we will give you an opportunity to ask your question, or you may use the chat box function. I see Dapo wants to make a comment. Dapo, you can go ahead and speak. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Just to note that it's now been said that Nigeria is looking to tap the Eurobond market and is speaking to a consortium of people to arrange the deal. We'll continue to monitor that space and provide updates as things move along. Thank you.
Thank you, Dapo. Okay, I see that we have no questions today. That means we have come to the conclusion of our meeting. On behalf of Vetiva and our media partners at Frontier Africa Reports, we would like to thank everyone for joining us today. We continue to encourage everyone to keep safe, and we look forward to having you join us again tomorrow at 8:30. We hope everybody has a good day. Goodbye.